slicers, have those slicers in here. I'm going just, I could just enlarge column A. I'm going to add an extra column here. Just make more room for my slicers. And to create a slicer is very easy. If you never did this before, it's one of those little things that if your colleagues at work don't know this trick, you will make a very good impression just by using this feature. Select your table anywhere, any cell, and then click on the table design tab and insert slicer. Okay, this button here. Now you are given the option, okay, which slicers do you want? Slicers for which fields do you want? I want for the family member, for the expense category. I don't need the description, the amount, no, I want for the month and for the year. Okay, in this case, our data only has 2020 values, so expenses for the year 2020, but then we can continue to populate our data after the year ends and the new one starts. If we want to, other people just choose to start a new file for the new year, or we can continue to add data and then analyze our data year after year. So we get the slicers there. We can select them also. Again, I'm going to use that find and select objects to select all the slicers at once. And then I can come to here, right click. I used right click to, and then move here just to drag them all. And I can, there's something that I want to do. For example, the buttons, I find them too big. They take too much space. So when I have the slicers selected, I can come to slicer and I can say, so here I have one section for the buttons size and for the size of the slicer itself. So for the buttons, I like to shrink button height to 0.5 centimeters. I work with centimeters. Sorry about those of you who work with other dimension. So let me go back. So you see how the buttons get higher or smaller. 0.4 even could be good enough. No, they are not. It's not good enough because I'm using a zoom of 115%. So I'm going to go back to 0.5. Okay. And I could, for example, here in align to the left, everyone there. I can move them. So, for example, like that. I can make them not so wide. So either trying to select here or maybe just here width, we can click there or type the value we want there. Okay. So year, maybe I want the year at the top. This is a little bit of work of patience and persistence. Okay. If we wanted to have more than 1 year available here, I can select the slicer and then choose more than one column. So if I had 2 years, for example, if let me find and select, disable this. If this date here was 2021, automatically I get a new year in my slicer there. So we can arrange space like that too. The months, I'm going to put them here at the top. I'm going to make this maybe as large, as wide as the table. And then on my slicers columns, I can put up to 12. I can type instead of using that button there. You can select the slicer and right click, slicer settings, and you can change the name of this, how it shows here, and display header. I don't like the space that the word month takes, but I do like these buttons there. I find them useful. So it's up to you deciding on whether or not to display, because now if we do this, the names are pretty much self-explanatory. We don't need the word month, and we can save us some space here. Another thing here is our months are sorted alphabetically. And this is not a coincidence or just because Excel is too smart. It is, but it's good to know that if we come to slicer settings, we have an option here that says, let me show you that, which says item sorting and filtering, ascending A to Z, and then this check mark here, use custom lists when sorting. If I don't have this, I will be sorting alphabetically only. So you see, April is the month that starts with an A, would show first. So we don't want that. And let's see, file options. Okay, there we go. So file options and advanced, and then scroll down until you find general here. And here it says edit custom lists. And this is where our lists that we are using in that slicer there is where our list lives and is sorted. So Excel is using this list, and this comes already with Excel, at least in this Excel version, this list is already there. But if you, for example, let's imagine you had a list of steps on a certain process. Start, then approved, then concluded. I don't know, 3 different steps or 4, or product lists, and you want them to show in a certain order in your data validation or your slicers, and not necessarily, not your data validation. You want them to show in a specific order on your slicers or on your pivot tables. That also works for pivot tables. In that case, I would recommend you to come here and you need to create a new list and start a new list here. So you click there where it says new list, click there, type in your new list, add it to your lists list, and then Excel will be able to sort your information using that new list that you added to these options. Okay, so there's a new tip, another tip there that could be very useful. Let's close this. So that's pretty much, I was talking about the properties here. I like to, so size and properties, let me show you here again. I interrupted this before. I like to disable here, and here in the properties, I like to have it as don't move or size, so that the user doesn't move slicers around accidentally, or so that they don't shrink every time we filter our data. So the column, the rows are hidden and unhidden as we filter our data, but the slicers won't be affected. And the print object, I usually take it out. The locked, you should not have it locked if you are going to protect your sheet. We are not going to do that now, but that's another tip that you can have. Okay, so what else do we need? We have our slicers in place. We have our slicers organized, and we could work with the slicers design too. So if you click on a slicer, here you will be able to use different designs, and then you can format, you can play with that if you'd like. And so that's pretty much it. So let's say, oh, I need to enter data for February, and I don't remember if I enter the condominium. So you can filter and see, oh, I already have condominium for February. Do I have it for March? I have a few condominium expenses here. So you can filter your data using the slicers here. And then if something is missing, then you can type in the date and fill in the rest. So using just the next row available below the data that you have up there. Okay, so I'm just typing in some information here just as an example. Then you want to go back, use here clear filters, and it cleans everything. clears all the filters at once. Or we can, if I'm using, for example, this slicer, I can use the button here. Okay, and the other button here on the slicer, if I have it like this, I can only, when I click, it selects only that option. So it goes, if I have Monica, I have all the Monica entries, and then if I go mark, it just shows me all the mark entries. But if I activate that other button there in the slicer, now it gives me the option of selecting multiple items in the slicer. Okay, and so this will work more like a toggle. The buttons will work more like toggle buttons on and off, but we can also select multiple options if we have this option, this feature disabled. But we can hold down Control or Shift, and we can select multiple options like that as well. So this is just a brief explanation for those of you who may not be so familiar with slicers. But if that's the case for you, I'm sure it will be a success if you start applying them to your spreadsheets there at work.